Well, welcome back to Community Calendar. I'm Raina, filling in as host today, and we are at the Becker County Museum with Becky Mitchell. Becky, where are we, and why are we here?
We are in the part of the museum that most don't get to go to, Raina. We are down in our lower level. So this originally was, well, first of all, originally this was going to be about half the size that it is present day. And at the time that when we did bids and everything, we just chose to go with more of the full basement, and boy, have we used it like crazy. First of all, just getting all the collections in one spot and being able to work on them has been amazing. But this is the second time in a year and a half that we're actually using it as a functioning space for patrons. And so these crates behind us are an exhibit called American Adventure, which will be opening on September 28th to the public.
Okay, so what is that?
American Adventure is a story of Jamestown, those early colonists of Jamestown that came over and settled. And it is the story of that first year and what they went through to survive. The very cool thing about this exhibit is it's modeled a little bit after the Oregon Trail. Remember that game?
I absolutely do. I always died in it. I'd get cholera or something.
Dysentery was huge. So this is not the Oregon Trail. I just want to be clear about that. But the exhibit is modeled. So it's a maze that you're going to go through. You're going to start out, you're going to become a character a colonist, if you will. You're going to have a life board that you carry with you. And as you go through the maze and do different challenges and make different choices, you may live or you may die, because those first colonists of the 108, I believe, that came over, I think it was like 35 that lived the first year. So this exhibit really teaches the relationship between nature and humans that first year and all of those choices. Do I live next to the field or do I live next to the beach? Where do I get my water from? Because there was a river, there was a ocean, or do we dig a well? You know, all those learning experiences that those settlers had, or colonists had to go through that first year. It's something for all ages. A lot of engagement for the younger crowd, which I think is amazing. There's a little zip line in it. There's a climbing wall. There's different activities to keep them busy. But of course, us adults that maybe don't want to go through the zip line, still appropriate for us. And the reviews are great. And what's even cooler about this is we get this exhibit until the end of the school year. So we are basically getting it almost at the beginning, and we have it through the whole school year. So if you have family coming in for the holidays, classrooms, schedule your classroom field trips now for any time, basically this school year. Homeschool group, same thing. So we're super excited to have it.
Awesome. Is there, would there even be any artifacts from that time period? I'm terrible. I don't know any of these things. Or like what kind of things, replicas of things that they had? Anything like that in this?
I don't think replicas certainly. Almost all exhibits are replica based now, but nothing original. And that's pretty common in almost all exhibits. Even when we had the larger exhibit last year, those were all replicas. It's just first of all, it's not cost effective for an entity of our size. The amount of security and accommodations you would have to make to have those original artifacts.
Things that we don't think about when we're not in the museum world.
For sure, because of course the very at the utmost tier of a museum is preservation. So whether it's managing a traveling exhibit and you're actually sending your exhibit out around the country or around the world, you're still trying to preserve those items as best as you can. And so, yeah, our entity, our budget would not afford that for the most part. That's not to say we'll never have something, but this would be all replica, yeah.
So there are replica
there's different
artifacts
situations that I don't know artifact-wise. Think they're settling, so they're cutting down trees. I don't know how many actual artifact-based items there would be in this. It's really more about making choices, developing those relationships with different, whether it's the beaver or another colonist. You've got money, I've got food. Let's figure out how to trade. That's really the story behind this exhibit.
Well, Well, that makes complete sense. I need to brush up on my history, that's for sure. So no better place than here.
Yeah,
so.
we're talking about the 1607 is the year we're talking. So of course those colonists brought over, similar to our early pioneers, they brought over items with them, and perhaps we'll see glimpses of that when all of these crates. These are a few of the crates behind us for this exhibit, and there's more upstairs still. So
awesome. So that's starting September 28th. And that goes until May, essentially.
May 24th. We're open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. There is a charge for this exhibit, of course. So non-members, it's a $20 for adults and $10 for kids. That includes your museum membership. Admission. So when you are here, you're able to go through this exhibit. You're able to go through the Science Center upstairs with the kids and play, and also go through our local history exhibits as well.
And then what does a membership cost?
A membership costs for a family, it's $100 a year. And so that's anybody living in your household. It gets free daily admission to the museum for a year. In cases like when we bring in an exhibit such as this, their cost is half the regular. So it's $10 and $5 to come to the exhibit.
Okay. And so what other things can people expect when they come to just the regular museum exhibits?
Of course, our local history, and we are switching those out quite regular now. I know that was a big comment in our old facility, that even though everything wasn't the same all the time, just some of those built-in structures that you always felt it was kind of the same. And so our collections gals doing a really great job of making sure little areas get switched out often and different things to look at. Our research library is phenomenal now. We have all the newspapers from the newspaper. We have tax records. We have birth and death, notations of that. Township records, scrapbooks, which are incredibly fun to look at. Lots of people have donated their scrapbooks from different periods of time in our history, and so that's really great. Of course, we have the Colin Peterson exhibit. And then upstairs is our children's science area. And that too is constantly changing. We just did a little refresh and reset. It's kind of like at home when you got to take some toys away for a while. And same thing happens up in the Science Center. And so we try to mix that up every few months, move things around, bring out some new items to engage kids.
I noticed as we were walking through, there was some cameras, which caught my eye. What is that exhibit?
Yeah, there's an amazing camera collection right now that was donated recently. And we do have a pretty impressive camera exhibit on our own, but that exhibit is 100% this gentleman's collection that he had. And so, yeah, that in itself, you could spend quite a bit of time looking and perusing and literally taking a walk down memory lane in a timeline fashion of cameras.
That's always been fascinating to me. Hang on, I had a question. Oh, okay. Let me get my gum adjusted again. I am gonna go back to this so that we can put up a graphic to cover my flub here.
Okay.
I'm just gonna take that out. Okay, so Becky, again, we've got the Jamestown exhibit, not Jamestown, North Dakota.
Not Jamestown. No, we're talking early colonist, Jamestown, East Coast.
Super. So that, again, is September 28th. And you're open Tuesday through Saturday.
Correct.
10 to 4.
10 to 5.
10 to 5. And, you were talking about the collections just in general. Now, see, this is what fascinates me is being down here. I love looking at the behind the scenes stuff. So how do you determine what is going to be shown? Because you have a lot of things that have been donated over the years. How do you determine what gets shown?
Sometimes it is the interest of whomever is setting up those exhibits. We all have different interests, and so which is great because what piques your interest isn't what piques my interest. So sometimes it's that. I would say more often it's motivated by what's happening in our community, what's happening in our county and our world or our state. We try to link a lot of our artifacts and those stories with current events that are happening. Sometimes it might be, a holiday. For instance, we had the Vernie Zern exhibit earlier this year that was the young man who went missing in action in Korea. And that exhibit there was very little artifacts for him, but very impactful because it was timed right around Memorial Day. And so we did a lot of education on what it means when now it's very common to set the table and put the rows out. And so Bethany did a great job of kind of explaining what all of that means in addition to honoring this individual. So sometimes it really is a mix of things. With this exhibit, we really want to put up a history of video gaming exhibit, just because the Oregon Trail, again, it's not the Oregon Trail, but you will feel, you'll have that reminiscence feel with it. That really kind of kicked it off, even though it wasn't, I mean, Atari, I guess, was out before that. But for lots of us, you got that first home computer, and that was the first game on the computer was the Oregon Trail.
So I remember playing it in elementary school, I think like 3rd grade, and we had the big floppy disks that it was on, and yeah. I never quite understood the concept of the game, so I always stocked up on like axles. You know, I didn't get it.
But you did learn something. In your case, maybe not the story you were supposed to learn, but you did learn that maybe you needed to make different choices. You just didn't really maybe understand what they were. And that's very similar to what this is. It's all fun. People can go through the maze multiple times, so you could go through and maybe dysentery gets you, or the fever or whatever, and then you can go through again and maybe be a different colonist and have different sets of choices and strengths and what have you. And that's really, you know, history. I think the best part about history is the stories, whether that's the story of people or the story of an artifact, and learning from those stories. And that's the fascinating part, as opposed to, I think, just like the date memorization, kind of that boring part of history that a lot of us remember in school, just memorizing. Our goal at the museum is really more to talk about the individuals and the stories behind whatever is on display, or the individuals that were here before us.
Super. Well, make sure you come and check out the Jamestown exhibit here at the Becker County Museum. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to the museum, and they'll answer those for you. And thank you, Becky, for being on the community calendar. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Come and see us for American Adventure.
All right. We'll be right back with Community Calendar.